Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel with your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull. Let's get that crop a little bit more. That's a bit better. I'm just gonna start out with some Geoguessr, and how's everybody doing? Let's make sure I can actually get the windows where I need to see them. There we go, that'll work. Okay, this is almost certainly Britain. We got yellow number plates, got Edwardian style bay windows, we've got asphalt footpaths, and this bus here that looks like First. The various shit ass companies that, yeah. Basement flat, 84 Milton Road. We've got a street address if we can just determine. Okay, no Welsh on that sign, so we're in England or Scotland. Aubrey and Girton. Let us see. Can we get something a little bit... This bus... Oh, a GMX address. I haven't seen a GMX email in ages. Bus stop. Can't quite make out what that says. Road hump. Oh wait, there's a sign there. Maybe that... St. Lawrence's Catholic Church. Permit holders only. Okay. Pro tip. When rearranging your hair on stream, if you're using a camera, best to use the view that gives you real time. King's Hedges. Newmarket, Aubrey, King's Hedges, Ely. I know one Ely, but that's in Wales, and this is definitely England. Waterbeach. I think water is an integral part of most beaches, actually. Yeah, definitely only English. Roundabout, that doesn't actually help us much. That can be anywhere, too. All the routes. That is a distinctly unhelpful sign. Although Hughes, that is the Welsh spelling of Hughes. Redgate, we're hiring. Hughes Grey Ridgeons. So these are pigeons with ridges. Chesterton. Cambridge. Cambridge is #1 independent. And Chesterton Carpets. Okay. Cambridgeshire. Wait. Okay. There's Cambridge. Milton. Chesterton. And now Milton Road is what we're after. High Street, Chesterton Road, Peeps Cut. Church Street, Edinburgh Road. St. Lawrence's Catholic Church would also get us in the right spot. Fallowfield, Enniskillen Road. Kinross. Kingarry, Kinross. Milton Road. Care home. Day nursery. Just... Yenare più duro, un sessano le union, un biron sottoro, urinarne. Cambridge Green End Road, Cadence Design Systems. Okay, Milton's a bit of a long road, isn't it? St. John's, St. John's Innovation Park. That's the Milton Interchange. Okay, well, it's definitely before the bloody Milton Interchange. St. Lawrence's. There we go. 200 meters, $49.99. Not a bad start. And I have to say, there are easier things to start from than a fucking English high street. Because they're all identical. Okay, and I say this and we get an English churchyard. Almost certain this is Britain. Let me see here. We got anything? Yeah, Feuilly? No. Jean-Claude Borelli? No, on est en France. C'est France. Mairie? Okay, it's the city hall. Or town hall, I guess. Of some place. Yeah, definitely not English. This is someplace in France. Pretty little spot. Wherever the hell it is. Okay. Someplace in France. À vendre. Yeah, that font is France. What sort of small caps kind of font? Audin, Aubanger, D241. Okay, that name... That sounds like it might be in Brittany. I mean, it doesn't really sound very French, the name. It doesn't sound German. Which kind of leaves... Breton. Tu me peux éplouiner? Pourquoi? Baiser comme 6 heures? Moi trêve? Shawen? Scrignac? I mean, it's someplace pretty small and definitely rural. There's something about that place name. D241. Makes me feel like we must... there's 700... for the D200. Ah, shit. Expanded that a little bit farther than I wanted to. D365. 900, D3, 500, c'est au D200. Yeah, let's keep going. Dampierre, Gournay. Beauvoir, Lyon. Beauvoir, Lyon. And that's Lyon with an S, though. So that doesn't really help a lot. Pays de Bray. Arcueil. Des 11. Antibes. Tabarnak. Oh wait, D119. Well, we're looking 145. It's D200. Poivik. Someplace near Lyon, looks like. Ah, shit. I was closer in the first place. By Rouen, 36.59. Not too bad, though. Okay, this definitely is not France. Okay, we have scuffed infrastructure, relatively dry climate, looks like fairly red soil. Not a whole lot of people about. That describes a lot of places in the world, so let's just wait and see what we see. Okay, this thatching on these fences, I've seen that in Peru. This could be Peru. Well, give me a sign or something. Something that at least tells me what language people speak around here. Yeah, this thatch definitely... No, wait, c'est donc en vente ici. This is a French-speaking place. A French-speaking place in a hot climate with scuffed infrastructure. That sounds like West Africa. Well, it could be Central as well. Okay. So, someplace in West Africa is my general sense of it. Though actually, warm and French-speaking is a pretty broad category in Africa. So not necessarily the West. Could be, let's see, Mali, Burundi. I don't. Oh wait, there's a. And all we know from that is it's a Renault. That is not informative. Okay. Ah shit, I should have stuck with it. It was Senegal. 514 points. That's how big Africa is. Okay, buggered that one up. So let's see. This could be Southern Europe or it could be South America. Except that's English. No stopping. Lucas Road. Seems someplace fairly urban nearby. Definitely not Britain. Too sunny for Britain. Oh, hold on, we got a train. Wait a second. That looks like... No, that can't be. I mean, that looks like an Amtrak train. I've been in trains of that model. Like, the Metro trains in Chicago look like that, but this is definitely not Chicago. So it's someplace that uses that model of train, though. Barwin's Council. That doesn't help me any. Okay, it looks like people drive on the left, which doesn't surprise me. Could be South Africa, could be Australia, could be NZ. Red no stopping sign's the new one on me. It's exciting stuff that is piled up in my brain. 25 kilometers an hour. Dean Street. Okay. Well, that doesn't narrow it down. I already decided it wasn't Britain. Shopping trolleys. Okay, what's the graffiti tell us? Nice mural. Not sure what it Nothing immediately jumps out to me. Ah, we're in Australia. Cosmo cranes. St. John's Ambulance. Burwood Weldon Centre State Rail. So at least some of the rolling stock in Australia's trains are identical to Metro trains in Chicago. Telstra. If you see a Burger King that isn't called Burger King like this, I mean, this isn't Burger King, this is Hungry Jack's. That is how you know it's Australia, and I love that they were forced to change their name because it was some small burger joint in South Australia, soon to be in Sydney Morning Herald. Ah, but wait a second, that doesn't necessarily mean Sydney. Oh, but NSW Lotteries does tend to suggest it. Boom. Okay, Burwood. Okay, is that a Sydney suburb, perhaps? Revesby, Prestons, Austral, Ingleburn, Wetherell Park, Para, Dural, Warunga, Manly, Chatswood. Bondi Junction, Diceyville, Botany. Barton Ridge. So one really cool thing, just absolute highlight of the Polyglot Conference. Polyglot Conference. There's a chipping Norton in Sydney. That's so fucking random. Was getting to talk with this guy Brian, this Malaysian guy who is working on a project. There's an Aboriginal community in an area just outside Sydney, and they're trying to revive their language, and they have at this point 0 native speakers, and not only that, virtually no resources to show how it was spoken the last time anyone was speaking it. Just like one dictionary put together by missionaries, and I have to say, having looked at dictionaries put together by missionaries for other languages, those are, they're not great. Unless you want to ask people if unless your opening line is to ask people if they fancy renouncing eternal hellfire or something. So he is helping reconstruct the language, part of the team, based on this book and nearby related Aboriginal languages. And it was just so cool listening to him talk about this. It was absolutely an amazing project. Love to be part of something like that. Well, it could be. There's a Cardiff in Newcastle? So fucking random. Mayfield, Waratah, Fletcher, Minmi. Oh, fuck up. Hurstville via Ride. That does not really help me much. I don't know my Sydney suburbs. If this was Melbourne. Well, let me just make entirely certain this... Oh, well, no, it says NSW. It's in NSW. It's definitely not Melbourne. George Street. Westfield, Burwood. Yeah. Sydney via Marrickville. Okay, we are in Sydney. That is a Sydney suburb I do know the name of. So there was a whole controversy over a mural supporting BDS a few years ago in Marrickville, and Marrickville Council got involved, and... Oh, Burwood! Fucking hell, there we go. Tomato art. Westfield, Burwood. There we go. There we fucking go. Finally. $609 meters. 49.98. That is a little bit better than that last one. Переулок Пушкинский. Мы в России. That means, and we're in some very rural area of Russia as well. So the chances of getting a clear idea of exactly where, which переулок Пушкинский we are around. Oh, that's handy. So the Russian for siding, as in on a house, is just siding. Because occasionally I end up, the neighbors are Ukrainians who speak Russian, and we end up talking in Russian, talking about there's some building going on, which included putting on siding, and I've never talked about building in Russian. I had absolutely no occasion to find out what any of these terms were. But apparently the Russian word for siding is just siding. Righto. That's handy. Radio energy. Ленина, улица Ленина, железнодорожный вокзал, дом обуви и одежды. Okay, there's a railway station coming up in half a kilometer. That will tell us the name of the town, to the extent that that is at all helpful. It may or may not be. Tatneft. Okay. Автомойка, самообслуживание от 50 рублей. Self-service car wash. Sarapul. Удмуртская республика. Okay. Sarapul в Удмуртской республике. That simplifies things a bit. Don't remember exactly where. I feel like the Udmurt Republic was someplace Siberian. Irkutsk. Tuva, Бурятия. Алтайская республика. Алтайский край. Барановка. Новосибирск. Амур, Забайкальский. Бурятский. Бурятия. Саха. Sacha's bloody huge. Ninets. Barkuta. Komi. Архангельск. Вологда, Киров. Bloody hell. Where is the Nizhnov? Saratov. Оренбург. Come on. Udmurts. Bashkortostan. Saran-Paul. Say someplace in the middle of Russia. I do not remember exactly where the Udmurts. Ah, bollocks. Sarapul. I was so close before I moved much, much farther away. Holy shit. Oh no, wait a second. That's a relief. Of course it says Saturday now. It's after midnight. For a second I was like, did I miss yesterday? Did I miss the Friday night stream? And okay. Alright, where shall we go now? Might start out with a little short from PragerU. Why is Hollywood so woke? Oh, but let's see.
Why does Hollywood lean so far to the left?
Answer, they don't.
Why does Hollywood lean so far to the left?
They still don't.
I'm an entertainment journalist and movie critic, so I get asked this question a lot.
Okay, who the hell is Christian Toto, apart from sounding like a character from a really shitty remake of Wizard of Oz? PragerU instructor. Like, what the? What? That is just taking this premise way too far. Let's see. Daily Wire contributor. Okay, so he's probably going to turn out to be pretty fucking racist.
If Hollywood reflected America, then half of Tinseltown should be as red as it is blue.
Why would that be a reflection of America, though? Because actually, when you look at the polls, it is way less than half actually support. Way less than half actually support the Republicans. The Republicans are a minority. Republican voters are a minority, and they know it. In fact, that is why vote suppression has been such an important part of their strategy for so long. Because if you actually, the only way that they have any chance is if turnout is suppressed, either because people who would like to vote can't actually do it, or because people don't really see any particular reason to vote because the Democrats haven't given them anything to vote for. Republicans are not 50% of anything.
But that's not remotely the case. Why? Here are 5 reasons.
Well, I'm gonna guess one of them is because when they make shitty, just straight up right-wing Republican-ass propaganda, it doesn't do as well.
1. Guilt. A-list actors are paid incredible amounts of money to play dress-up. They're ridiculously fortunate, and they know it, and they feel guilty about it. That guilt must be assuaged. And what better way to assuage it than to...
Wait a second, so the actors are the ones who determine everything about what goes on in Hollywood? Is that the idea here?
Speak up for the less fortunate, the undocumented immigrant, the misunderstood criminal, women, blacks, gays, and the transgendered, too. And by
The transgendered. Oh, this guy's lovely.
God, there's an entire planet to be saved.
Yes, actually, there is, though.
You can't feel guilty if you're saving humanity, can you?
Okay, but you just said that they did feel guilty.
Especially if it means no actual sacrifice on your part. 2. The need for meaning.
Wait, okay, you're saying that right-wing propaganda... Let's just leave aside the fact that there's nothing particularly left about Hollywood. It's very middle of the road for the most part. It's once in a blue moon that you get anything that you could honestly call left. What these people are pissed off about when they talk about Hollywood being being woke is the fact that they don't have all white casts anymore. Oh, I see somebody else has joined us. Hello, somebody else. Welcome. We are learning why Hollywood is so woke. And so he's just said that his ideology is meaningless.
Somewhere along the line, probably in the 60s when so many wholesome ideas went south, the notion that providing entertainment was...
you mean like segregation?
...in and of itself valuable, lost currency. Not with the public. It was, in and of itself valuable, lost currency.
Now, why do you think that is? I mean, first of all, let's just pick this apart for a second, because the idea is that nothing had a message before the 1960s. And that's not true. I think what he's trying to avoid saying here is that in order to stay relevant, Hollywood had to start, at least somewhat, addressing the sort of topics that were on people's minds. And that's exactly what's happening, because Hollywood wants to be relevant. Because relevance is how you get people to pay money to see your stuff. Or get the ratings high enough that advertisers are interested in sponsoring your stuff. You need to be relevant. That's what he's talking about here.
Not with the public, but with the glitterati.
Oh, wait. Okay, first of all, who the fuck are the glitterati? And second of all, if the public didn't like it, if the public didn't go and watch it, then why exactly would they still be doing it? Surely they must be losing heaps of money if what he's saying is true. I haven't really seen that
Sure, acting brings money and fame, but not meaning. And meaning is much more important than both.
Wait a second. He's just sort of acknowledging that. What's interesting to me is he's acknowledging that the things that he thinks everything should be about are meaningless. That's a surprising concession. I wonder if he thought this through.
Especially if you can purchase it so inexpensively. All you have to do is say the right things about the right causes. That those causes always happen to be leftist ones is merely a coincidence.
Yeah, a very broad definition of leftist here.
3. The need to be loved.
Wait a second, what he just said was that the public doesn't give a shit about this stuff. That this isn't about having currency with the public. That, nobody's worried about money in Hollywood, which I think that would come as a surprise to them. But now he's saying that it's the need to be loved. Well, which is it? Is this stuff completely irrelevant to the public? Does the public not give a shit about any of it? Or do they have to espouse leftist in there are not enough inverted commas in the known universe as would be needed in order to put around leftist, as he uses it, causes, gets them loved. Like, I mean, he didn't. This is a little bit contradictory, I think, Christian.
Everyone wants to be loved and admired, but most actors live to be loved and admired.
Well, and so your idea here, little dog. Well, he is the Christian Toto. After all, is that they live to be loved and admired, and so they're doing something that you think the public doesn't like or care about?
Success for an actor is being adored by strangers.
Again, but you just said that the public doesn't give a shit about this stuff, that it's just completely meaningless to everyone except the actors.
Stars rail against border enforcement, pro-lifers, or a certain real estate mogul, and still get fawning press coverage. That's even more love and admiration.
Wait, so the way to be... Okay, so the way to be popular is to stand against everything PragerU loves. Well, isn't that interesting?
And there's a bonus. You get to be told how courageous you are for speaking out. A rant about guns, then Oscar night becomes a powerful statement. It doesn't get better than that. Speaking of Oscars, if you have any hope of winning an award, and who doesn't want awards? That ambition
I remember Marlon Brando kind of rejected one once. That was kind of cool.
goes out the window.
It was probably the last time something good happened at the Oscars.
If you're suspected of being on the wrong side of the political aisle. 4.
Wait, but what he's saying is so fucking incoherent. Because what he's saying here is that Hollywood should represent a cross-section of the public, and doesn't. And yet, the way to get loved and admired as... Sorry. The way to get loved and admired as a Hollywood personality, as an actor, as a filmmaker, whatever, is to be on the right side of certain causes, and the right side just happens to be the side that is exactly the opposite. Hola, Yaguara, ¿cómo estáis? Is the exact opposite of the side PragerU's on, but they also said that the general public is on the same side as them, so that doesn't work.
Career preservation. Job security doesn't exist in Hollywood.
Where the fuck does it exist? I guess it works at PragerU. It exists at PragerU. It doesn't matter how shitty your videos are. They'll keep paying you as long as you, well, stand on the right side of things. And I guess if you want to be admired and loved by lots of just extremely shitty people, then that works.
And this makes everyone, from the top stars to the lowest crew members, very nervous. So, in order not to give anyone the slightest excuse not to hire them, Hollywood types double down on woke posts to Twitter or Instagram.
Wait, except that people have lost their jobs over those woke posts on Twitter. People have actually gotten their asses kicked out of their jobs for those woke posts on Twitter. Maybe Hollywood is all about money, and if you want the money, you have to be relevant to people, and most people think you're on the wrong side of history, Christian, there. So maybe that's why they feel a need to grudgingly acknowledge the things people actually care about.
Raising the latest leftist fad.
Yeah, right. Show me an example, please. Show me a single example of a recent Hollywood star praising communism.
These messages send a clear signal to their colleagues and especially to their employers. I'm a forward-thinking progressive just like you.
Yeah, because if there's one thing your employer loves to hear, the boss just loves to hear that you're a leftist. Big workers' rights kind of person, somebody who wants to stick it to the man. Bosses absolutely eat that right up. There's just absolutely, you'll be employee of the month forever. Just tell them you're a communist, right?
Push against this orthodoxy, and you'll pay a stiff price. Ask Gina Carano how that...
So the orthodoxy being that the Holocaust happened? Because Gina Carano explicitly said that being a Republican in the United States in the age of Trump was the same as being a Jew during the Holocaust. So he's saying that the orthodoxy is like just not being a Holocaust denier?
That works. When the star of the popular Disney series The Mandalorian suggested that conservatives were being persecuted for their political beliefs.
That is not all. First of all, that's bullshit. It's not true. Conservatives were not being persecuted for their political beliefs. And second of all, that's not what she said. What she said was, I mean, you can read it that either there was a genocide of conservatives going on, which there isn't, or that all that ever happened to Jews in Nazi Germany was getting criticized on the internet, which also is bullshit. Either way you go, it was a completely ridiculous thing to say, and she also shot all over trans people somehow in the middle of that. So yeah, I mean, not doing anti-Semitism is a pretty low standard, I would have thought.
She was lightsabered from both the show and Hollywood Inc. Or consider how singer Macy Gray changed her tune after she said trans women aren't the same as women.
See, that does not actually work, because trans women and cis women are both women. They are both women. So they are both women. There isn't a subcategory of women where you just double the word over.
Mercilessly pounded for this apostasy,
well, for saying something bigoted. See, I love these people. Yeah, I mean, it's so explicit on PragerU. They don't dress it up all that much. They just openly say that the reason the freedom they're fighting for is the freedom to persecute marginalized people.
Only took a few days for her to fully recant. 5. If it's right, it must be wrong. There is a pervasive belief in Hollywood that conservative ideas are grounded in hate or denial.
Well, that's because you've just given 2 examples of conservative ideas on it. One of them was Holocaust denial, and the other was directing hate at trans people. So you aren't really doing a good job refuting this pervasive belief there.
Conservatives hate gays and minorities.
You mean like the 2 people that you just pointed out? They're your cause célèbre? I mean, you're the one who picked these examples, my dude. You're the one who picked anti-Semitism, Holocaust denial woman, and transphobia singer. You're the one who fucking picked them. You didn't have to. You could have picked somebody if you could come up with it, who, I don't know, who didn't say anti-Semitic or transphobic shit.
Denies science and
Well, you mean, but you do, though. You do deny science. Like, it's kind of a thing you do.
even deny that America is systemically racist.
Well, you do. I mean, you're claiming that this is false, that conservatives do not deny that America is systemically racist? Because I seem to remember PragerU making a few videos explicitly saying that America is not systemically racist. So if these are the pervasive beliefs, I think the word you're looking for, they would shorten it up, take a little bit of the text out of the screen, is facts. That's just summarizing what your side believes in, dude. Sí, claro. Tampoco es como que importen los sentimientos que motiven unas políticas discriminatorias. Claro. Sí, exacto. Y los evangélicos así lo hacen. Persiguen a la gente LGBT, persiguen a tanta gente, bueno. Toda la gente que no piensa, no ama, no se comporta como ellos, y dicen que es por el amor de Dios. Hay evangélicos que incluso torturan para demostrar el infinito amor de Dios, weón. So, okay, so far he's saying what? Is he saying that conservatives... okay, I have to know how he's going to counter these pervasive beliefs.
And on and on. Imagine, they wail, if these haters ever gain power.
It's easy if you try.
We descend into fascism.
Well, you mean kind of like we're doing right now? I mean, let me see, when was this made? I think this was made fairly recently, because it just showed up in my YouTube recommendations. But I just can't help noticing that we kind of are descending into fascism. Huge numbers of cops, loss of the recognition of abortion rights, criminalization of miscarriages, and an entire set of laws being passed specifically in order to get trans people to kill themselves. I see. I would say the descent into fascism is proceeding apace.
Or worse. This explains why celebrities get hysterical whenever the political winds shift. Hollywood activists never say, "Oh, we lost that one." They say, "It's the end of the world."
Well, no, the ones who are completely up the asses of the Democrats, that's actually kind of true. I mean, you will basically never hear anyone who's anybody in the Democratic Party ever say, well, wait a second, maybe we should have stood for things that people like, universal public free health care, or, actually forgiving student loans rather than not doing that and saying you did, or actually doing something about a fucking pandemic rather than just, claiming to follow the science and then running away from it.
And to them, it is. Okay, I can hear you.
Well, I mean, in the sense that we're seriously running out of time to avoid the worst of climate change, and that could easily reduce the life expectancy of the human species from pretty much indefinite to, a fairly defined period of, a few hundred years or whatever. I don't know exactly how long the current projections say we would have as a species if we don't do something to slow this shit down in a hurry. But I don't think I think a pretty clear expiry date would be on us at that point.
You asking, why should we care what Hollywood actors think? I agree, we shouldn't care so much, but...
Then why are you talking about it? You could have made this video about anything.
Let's face it, a lot of people do.
Wait, your whole thing was that the Hollywood actors do this because because they care what a lot of people think. God, it just fucking stick to a premise.
Stars are American royalty. And, like it or not, they have a big platform. When they take strident political positions, it further divides us. We should care because it's just plain un-American.
Divides who?
That an entire industry discriminates against those who hold a different point of view.
So how many communists have you hired, PragerU?
Liberals were appalled when this happened during the anti-communist Hollywood blacklisting of the 1950s.
And, yeah, exactly. And, well, first of all, liberals weren't appalled. Liberals were fucking cheering it on at the time. Liberals were actually kind of cool with that. Liberals, I mean, particularly, like, we talk about liberals in the political class, didn't really give a shit about what McCarthy was getting up to until he started attacking the top brass of the U.S. military. Liberals did not give a shit about that. But, I mean, if you're saying that it was un-American to not, blacklist communists, that you should not be refusing to hire people just because they are communists, how many communists you got working for you right now, PragerU? And why aren't they sabotaging you more? I mean, seriously, if there are communists working at PragerU, like, fuck their shit up a little bit more. Hi, Paco. That is I have to say that, I don't know if you know what Paco means in Chile, Paco, but it means I'm used to following Paco with welcome, by the way. It's always nice to see new faces in chat, or new names, since I don't really get to see your faces, but welcome. Where are you joining us from?
Why aren't they appalled now?
Why? Well, what? You mean appalled that the Holocaust denier got fired for Holocaust denying? Ah, sì, también es Francisco, pero para mí, see, in Chile, Paco means a member of the military police. I mean, it's also short for Francisco, but in Chile, where you hear it the most is referring to the cops.
And we should care because it's tough to take all that liberal hypocrisy. No one should own guns, but they have private security.
Wait, so no one should own.
Nobody should have an SUV, but they are chauffeured around in Suburbans. CO2 emissions are destroying the planet, but they fly to Cannes or just across town in their private jets.
Yeah, fuck all that shit. That's fucked up. They shouldn't do that. That's what you're saying, right, Christian Toto? That's what you're saying, Dorothy's fundamentalist dog, right? That's what you're going for?
Yes, we could stop going to their movies and turn off their TV shows.
But you're already doing that, and it's a drop in the bucket because the reason they produce this stuff is because a lot of people like it.
But what we really want is for them to do what they do best and what brings people together in laughter and tears. We want them to act.
Well, they are acting. You just don't like the things they're acting in.
Oh, how we would love them if they just did that.
But they are doing that. And you said you didn't like the stuff that they were making because it was woke. Ah, yeah. Yeah, well, if you visit Chile, you will, anytime soon, you'll probably be exposed to quite a lot of it because the Pacos are pretty fucking wild at the moment.
I'm Christian Toto, founder of HollywoodInToto.com and author of Virtue Bombs, How Hollywood Got Woke and Lost Its Soul.
Wait, okay.
From Prager University.
Yeah, and what I love is that this guy in his Twitter bio calls himself a Prager University instructor, as if he's doing any fucking teaching.
Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free,
they're never going to charge money to see this bullshit, because nobody would pay it, and they know perfectly well they have to actually make any barrier to access will immediately cause a major drop off because there's stuff. I mean, even as far as right wing propaganda goes, it's just not very good. Okay, well, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna just do a little preview of the video that I think we will come back to tomorrow. It is Communist Propaganda, the movie. When's it from? This was created by the CIA. Okay. This... Oh, see, that's cool because this is how they let you know that they're gaslighting us. That's a gaslight. Yes, please do. See, I mean, I've been doing a stream that is communist propaganda for so long. When I found out there was a movie called Communist Propaganda, I just knew we had to look at it. United States Information Agency, Newsweek magazine, and the U.S. Army. Wait a second, did you say Ray Davis? I wonder if that has anything to do with the Ray Davis who was attached to the U.S. Embassy in Santiago de Chile in 1973, because there was a Ray Davis who was directly involved in putting out a hit on 2 U.S. journalists who were living there at the time, who were supporters of Allende, and who disappeared in like the first week after the coup. I wonder, could this possibly be the same Ray Davis? Although I think he was actually a captain in the Navy.
Gentlemen, as you know, Mr. Allen has been in the thick of the Cold War since its very beginning. You're familiar with his very distinguished record as a career diplomat and troubleshooter. But just for the record, let me...
That's a very ominous term, troubleshooter, in this fucking context, in this fucking company.
Recall a few of its high spots. 4 times in critical periods, he was assigned to frontline ambassadorial posts in Iran, Yugoslavia, India, and Greece. He has been...
Oh, so he was involved in the coup against... He was involved against the coup against Mossadegh. He was the reason that they were able to impose the Shah. Oh, and Greece. So he was involved in imposing the fascist dictatorship there. I am the MST3K comments.
Been Assistant Secretary of State for the Near East, South...
We are the MST3K
Asia
comments.
and Africa. In 1948, when Congress decided we ought to have an overseas information program on a more or less permanent basis, Mr. Allen was put in charge. And last fall, the President decided that this important activity needed Mr. Allen again. He brought him home from overseas and made him Director of the United States Information Agency. Mr. Allen attends the meetings of the Cabinet and the National Security Council. Mr. Allen, why is it that everything the other side says is propaganda, while we call what we say information?
Yeah, why do we call our propaganda information and their information propaganda? I mean, that's what we're gonna find out in this nice little movie that the CIA has put together for us. Except the thing is that the Soviet Union was way more honest about that. The Soviet Union called their propaganda propaganda. The office that was in charge of it was just the Agitation and Propaganda Department of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. That's a hell of a lot more honest, because the thing about propaganda is it's everywhere. It's like every single piece of media you consume has an angle, and it's kind of trying to move you in the direction of why that angle is a good one to adopt. That's propaganda. You can be honest about it, you can be open about it, or you can try to be like insidious and try to conceal the source and just be dishonest about it. And that's the whole thing. But it's all propaganda. You just have to treat it all as suspect. Yeah, I appreciate that honesty too.
Lindley, the word propaganda has taken on a very bad connotation. It was originally a perfectly
Well, that's why we don't use it.
word, but it brings to people's minds now the idea of twisting or distorting the truth, or even manufacturing complete falsehoods.
Which is what we do with the U.S. Information Agency.
Whereas we try in our service, our output, to give as straight the factual presentation as we can, and we feel that that is information and it should be labeled that, not called propaganda.
So, if you think that you're right, you can just pretend that your propaganda is just information.
I wonder if you could give us an example of Soviet propaganda, particularly as applied to the armed services, which these gentlemen represent.
Well, I had today with me a book that the Soviet government puts out for its training course of the armed services of the Soviet Union. The book is called Marxist-Leninism on War and the Army. I'll just read you one description of the way it talks about American Army officers. It said U.S. Armed Service officers are corrupt, weak, run by Wall Street, and, quote, professional robbers.
Okay, but there's a part coming up that isn't true? Is that the idea here? Eventually there's going to be a big lie that somehow negates all that's come before? Because that sounds like a reasonable description so far.
I call that propaganda.
Well, Mr. Allen,
Wait, why do you call that propaganda, though? Because the people who wrote that almost certainly believe it just as much as you believe, and possibly even more than you believe the bullshit that you are putting out as part of the U.S. Information Agency. So, if all it takes for it not to be propaganda is that the person making it believes it to be true, then that's information too. And that one, I mean, objectively, you really couldn't really quarrel with a lot of that. And the thing is, if you actually read the definitions of propaganda used by agencies like the CIA internally, they acknowledge this. They don't say that propaganda that you believe to be true isn't propaganda. They call that white propaganda. And if you know it to be false and you're trying to obscure who it's coming from and stuff like that, they call that black propaganda. In other words, they call it propaganda whether you're giving it to somebody straight, you honestly believe what you're saying and are being upfront about who you are and who you represent, or whether you're lying about it. That is the internal usage of propaganda within the U.S. intelligence community.
that applies to all officers of the armed forces. Do you have a comparable piece of Soviet propaganda that applies specifically to the Army?
Yeah, let's hear it. I want to hear what they have to say about the Army specifically.
Well, I'd like to show you on that a film of the meeting of the American and the Soviet armed forces at the Elbe, the River Elbe, at the end of the last war. And you'll see how the Soviet government and their information service presents this meeting of the two armies.
See, he can't even pretend for too long that there's a legit difference between what they're doing and what the Soviets were doing. He just called it their information service.
Could we have the film?
That's what he claims his thing is, too.
Let's see what really happened at the Elbe before we view scenes from the Soviet film. We are outside of Torgau, Germany, on the 26th of April, 1945, at the first official meeting of the American and Russian armies. The film you are seeing was made by Signal Corps photographers of the United States Army.
And, if it's made by the United States Army, they never leave anything out.
You will see a glimpse of the Elbe River Bridge in the background. The meeting took place to arrange a meeting of Corps commanders on the following day. Prior to this time, only patrols of the two armies had contacted each other. Here are Major General Emil F. Reinhardt, Commanding General of the 69th Division, 5th Corps, United States Army, and Major General Russakoff, commanding the 58th Guard Division, Red Army. General Reinhardt said, and I quote, "I crossed the river and waited for a short time as the Russians thought the meeting was later than 1600 hours. Russakoff and I discussed the details for meeting of the two Corps commanders."
But in fact, it was earlier than 1600. I mean, where the fuck's he going with this?
Day. I was impressed most with the cordial attitude of the Russians. Unquote. Now to the Soviet version, complete with Korean dialogue.
진영동무 보고하겠습니다. 연합군 미국 사람들입니다. 참 전쟁 끝판에 비로소 제2등 손으로 보게 되니 정말 재미가 있는걸. 저리가.
Okay, this is a feature film, and Korean dialogue is interesting. I mean, because this is Korean dubbing, and that is unusual, actually, for Soviet dubbing. Because when Soviet films and Russian films today, for the most part, are dubbed, usually you can hear the original audio in the background. I find it extremely annoying because I hate it when the dubbing is talking over somebody. If they're going to do that, I'd rather that they just, had voice actors rather than somebody just reading a translation of the script. But that's the usual Soviet and modern-day Russian way of doing this. Okay, so the idea is that the Soviet Union included boats. Yeah, Soviet and Russian doping suck shit. So this is I guess this was made for This is a version. I guess they came into possession of it in Korea. Probably it was captured, I guess, from Korean People's Army Forces or something like that. Because I mean, they wouldn't be showing a version with Korean dialogue elsewhere. But anyway, we're gonna find out why it matters that the Soviet feature film version involved fucking swimming and the U.S. version involved handshaking, and whether these are even supposed to be the exact same event or different phases in the same process of the two armies meeting up tomorrow night. Thank you to everybody who joined. Thank you, Paco, for joining us for the first time. I hope you decide to come back. Always nice to see new people. Thank you, Wayawara. Gracias por venir siempre. And at 11:30 tomorrow, we will be resuming and do some Geoguessr, and we're going to continue looking at Communist Propaganda, the movie, and find out why it matters that people are swimming in the Soviet version.